Good evening, everyone, and welcome again to our new podcast, How the Culture Gets It Wrong. It's a podcast on sex, dating, and relationship insights with myself, Andre Paradis, my lovely assistant, Tess Listic.
Hi, everyone.
In the house, my wife, Nancy.
Hello, everyone.
Joining us since we have a guest star this evening, a new guest star, my good friend, Jonathan Gorski. Jonathan, say hi.
Woo.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Jonathan in the house. So, our podcast, How the Culture Gets It Wrong. Yeah, it's very, very interesting because we end up having interesting conversation with all kinds of very, very, very interesting people, you know, as Jonathan is this evening. You're number 4 male? Is he 4 or 3?
I think he's 4.
I think he's 4. You know, we've had
Yeah.
women having
Yes,
this
it has
conversation,
been.
and now we're having men is stepping up, which is very
Which is
interesting because
awesome.
that's a whole different beast, as we know, because most men don't really talk about stuff that's edgy so much in the world because they don't want to be made wrong or being attacked, because right now everybody's a little sensitive about all the stuff
Right.
that's in the culture. Men, women, Me Too movement, patriarchy, toxic masculinity, feminism, equal rights, like all that, right? So like it's all over the place, but guys don't talk. We're going to talk. Jonathan, we're going to talk. So this evening's topic is how to be respectful when the rules have changed.
Oh.
How to be respectful when the rules have changed. And this really comes down to in the world of men. Would you say that's correct, Jonathan?
Yeah, I mean, times are changing, so I think guys are adapting and trying to see how to properly adapt.
Right. So with this basically adapt. We're having this discussion about how to be respectful when the rules have changed, because everything has changed out in the world right now. So Jonathan, I mean, all of my guests are not here because they're had like rosy lives. Most of us have come to be gentlemen and people who are up to something good in the world and want to help people because we had to live through our own challenges. So Jonathan, my man, tell us about you so our audience can connect to who you are, how you get to be the man that is speaking to us this evening.
So I grew up in Virginia, and growing up, I was the one who threw parties and always enjoyed bringing people together. But growing up, my mom was a single parent, and she taught me a valuable skill of being a gentleman, being respectful along the way. So over the years, I lived that life of being respectful, but also being the person who brought people together. I was like the poor kid with rich friends. All my friends, I went to a private school. My mom was able to get me in. But all of them got handed cushy jobs when they got out of high school. I went right into the service industry and worked my way up. And since I loved parties, I got into catering, then into events. And long story short is now I do events basically all around the world. I've done it all over LA.
That's so cool.
Work with kids to teach them how being a gentleman is really one of the biggest tools that got me where I'm at today.
So sorry, because you went a little faster. I want more of that stuff. I want more juicy details on that. So you go from...
I'm sorry, I have a question. You went into service. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Like restaurant.
The service
Oh,
industry.
gotcha.
Service
Okay,
industry.
gotcha.
Working
So
in restaurants and catering.
So then you moved to LA. How old are you?
22 when we did LA.
So you moved to LA, and then, you... Go ahead. Tell us.
I always enjoyed service industry and working in restaurants, or I liked serving. I didn't necessarily work in restaurants anymore. And a friend introduced me to the idea of catering. So I got into catering, and immediately it was like, all right, this is the world I want to be in.
Cool.
And I worked my way up, and I've done, every kind of LA party that you can think of, from fashion world to movies, film, to, I've met President Obama 4 times.
Wow.
Oh my
time.
gosh.
Yeah, no, he's done some big stuff.
That's insane.
It's taken me amazing places, but really the thing that's helped me is that lifestyle, being respectful to people, working hard, and showing up and being there for other people, supporting other people.
Yeah, so
Wow.
tell us the next step. This because we met through when the way you and I hooked up is because you were up to something with high school kids that I just thought was just freaking amazing. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I and 3 friends, we came up with the idea of how can we bring the gentleman back? It was something that helped all of us through our lives, and we wanted to share that because we saw it as kind of like an art form being lost.
Being a gentleman.
So we decided
being a gentleman? When was this?
When was it?
Yeah.
I would say about 7 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we started about 7 years ago. We got together and we decided we wanted to work with high school age young boys. And we had some contacts in the school system up in Pasadena they're like, yeah, you can come, we can set up a speech. So we went in, gave a speech, and we shared with the kids, we had similar backgrounds to them. I grew up with my mom my mom raised me. My dad was a dad on the phone. One of the other guys only had a single mom. Another guy had both of his parents. Another guy was raised by foster family. So we had every kind of scenario in our background, but we all had a tying our alignment that because we lived as a gentleman, it got us really far in our life. So that really connected with a lot of the kids. And I think the school had the Dodgers there the day before, and the principal told us the day after when we came, they're like, yo, these kids listen to you more than they listened to the Dodgers yesterday.
Wow.
Start a program now. And we're like, okay, give us a week to come up with something. And like we sat down one Saturday and spent 9 hours, and we hashed out the first semester, and we jumped into it, I think a month later, right into it. And we went about 5 semesters straight, and then we went to 2 additional ones, which was like a extended version where one went 18 weeks and the other one went 22 weeks. Working with high school young boys.
So teaching a high schooler how to become and live life as gentlemen.
Yeah, and really just showing the value, because that's the one thing that just they didn't understand. So getting to see that opportunity.
I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So you teach them the values of being a gentleman. What is it, in your own words, like what does a gentleman mean to you? Being a gentleman mean to you?
So I finally, it took me a couple of years to come up, but the best way I put it is a gentleman is one who makes a promise to oneself to become the best version of themselves, understanding that their journey is theirs to make the most of, but also understanding that everyone is on their own journey. So we must be respectful to others as they travel along their own. Nice. And the whole idea is that it's up to us to create the life we want. Like, we all have personal choice. And yeah, we might have a bad background. We might have like nonsense we've dealt with. But at the end of the day, like today we can choose. And we're in the luckiest time of our world that you can choose to do whatever you want. It's really how you act upon it, but also not doing anything in the detriment of others. Like, understanding that the person next to you, all of you that we're talking to, like, all of us are dealing with our own struggles. So we shouldn't do something to strive and make ourselves have this amazing life, but in the aftermath, it's actually affecting negatively all these people. Like, we need to be conscious that impacting others.
Wow, that's amazing.
Ooh, see,
wow.
see, my man.
Is that quote you just said to us your mission statement with the definition of a gentleman? Because that was gorgeous.
It took me a while, but when it clicked, I was like, there.
Yeah.
I can explain it now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to transcribe that, baby.
Right? So what do you see happening with the kids? I mean, like, you're in high school, so you're a high school kid. What is it that you see the most? What's in your face? Because I have some experience as well, but your turn.
I think the biggest thing I saw over the years of working with high school age boys was that it was such an image thing, like an ego/image, which they didn't understand. Like, they didn't understand what ego was. But the biggest thing I would tell the kids, I'm like, yo, all the stress that you guys are going through right now, none of it matters when you get out of high school. Like, don't overwhelm yourself with like popularity or trying to be cool or trying to be liked. Like, be you. Trust that if you fully embrace who you are and you love who you are and you're living a life that you want to live, like, all the right things can come. Don't go for the money. Don't go for the fame. Like, that stuff comes if you focus on what you really want. But if you go for that other stuff first, it's in a year, 2 years, you're going to realize I just wasted the time. I need to restart.
Wow. I think I really needed to hear that. Well, thank you.
We had a couple weeks ago, Jonathan, we had teenage boys on the podcast.
Yeah.
And it's just such a great tie-in to what they said.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of high school, that was one of the biggest things I heard from a lot of the kids was some of the stuff they'd be stressed out. And they would come to me and like some of the other guys and would tell us, and we'd be like, dude, like, that's not a big deal. Like, but for them, it is a big deal because they're in their mind, like, especially I think for high school age young boys, it's very hard for them to open up and to talk about any of this stuff. Yeah. So they keep it all to themselves. And the problem is with that is that if you're not vocalizing, communicating with others, you're not having people check you and be like, hey, that's actually not a positive way of thinking. Like, what if you thought about it this way?
Yeah.
Well, and a man's paradigm to really keep everything inside, I mean, it's, I know people make men wrong for being that way, but it's also a default system for survival, right? The more the more you share, the more people can use that against you. So, especially as a teen, where you're just finding you're just really getting to land in your body, you know what I mean, with the hormones and stuff. Like, the last thing that's going to happen is you opening up the turmoil that's going on inside of you, because you don't know what the hell is going on. I mean, you don't know what the hell is going on in 7 different layers. So to be quiet, to pull back, to retreat, and inside your head it would be the default system. However, that's a dangerous place for some of them to like hover and really sort of disconnect. Right? So the just to have and this is where the work that you do is so fantastic, because guys teenage boys won't open up to their mothers. They won't open up to women. They just won't. You know what I mean? Because they're so overwhelmed with what that even is to be with the presence of a woman at this point. You know what I mean? And the fact that there's just different creatures, and only man can actually reach those boys. Only man can bridge the gap and then sort of get them to feel safe enough to say, "What's going on, dude? You okay? Like, what's anything you want to talk about? And so that's the magic of what they're doing, and that the conversation to open them up to their own thoughts. The way I do it, because I'm a coach as well, so I'm a life coach and a relationship coach, and this instinct to not share, to keep everything inside, just never goes away with men. Some learn as they get older to open up and see the value, but you wouldn't believe how many just like pull back, just not knowing how to have this conversation with their wives and their loved ones, so they don't. So when I show up man on man, what's amazing is that it's not about, men don't want to talk because talking is like, what's the point? I feel like crap. I don't want to talk about it. I had a bad day. I had a bad week. I had a bad life. I don't want to talk about it. So why talking? And the value that I make them see, and this is what you're doing, Jonathan, is that the moment you get the stuff out of your head, sort of out, and I call it on the table, like put all the pieces that are freaking you out, that you it just keep rolling around and you can't do anything with because they're rolling and rolling and rolling. When you spill them out, you could literally put them on the table in pieces, and all of a sudden you start being able to see or sort through them. Do you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you go, oh, okay, well, I didn't know that was such a big deal, and everybody thought this was a problem, or like it's there's a sorting out. So women speak typically for connection. When you get men to speak, it's for sorting out. It's a whole different machine. It's fantastic. You know what I mean? And so, but they don't see the value till you get them to do it.
Right.
And then sometimes I have to explain to them, this is what we're doing. We're going to sort this thing out that's in your head, or the things that are in your head. We're going to pull them out, not because we want to bond and talk about them, because we get to sort. You'll see how it brings clarity when you put them on the table. And it always happens. So fantastic work, Jonathan. And that's sort of, especially as teens, dude, like it's just not obvious.
Amazing.
It's the exact opposite. They want to hide. They have this image to keep up. They're supposed to be tough and have the swag.
The respect thing.
The swag, right? I'm cool, right?
I want to say, I want to speak from the voices of women out there to really hear these words, because they're golden, to understand what's going on in men, and just that typical joke that goes around of men are shallow, or they can only do one thing at a time, or the one word answer is like, this is what's going on. I come from a family of 5 older brothers, and I love them all. And when you can really embrace what's going on for a man, it will make you a better woman. And I just wanted to say that to the women out there, to just really maybe rewind and listen to that segment again, because it's really golden, and it's how you can really love and respect your man and your sons, or your fathers, or your coworkers. It's across the board. Wow. And so I'm going to say early on, Jonathan, to thank you for the work that you're doing, because it's just amazing.
Well, because when they learn to do this as teens, they have access to that now. They understand the value. Do you know what I mean? And they do it. You just crack them open, and and they'll go. Guess what they're going to do as soon as they get in real trouble? Call Jonathan, call the team, call the man. Then maybe if they're not available, maybe like talk to his dad or Uncle Sam or some guy. You know what I mean? Because there's just magic in that, and you have to experience it. Right. In order to get it, and then now it's unstoppable at some point. Yeah. So,
Jonathan, have you seen that firsthand? That kind of opening up of men through what you're doing? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I started a conversation series because for like years while we were working with the kids, I was like, man, some of the things we would talk about with the kids, I would hear the kids and what they're struggling with, and I'm like, I feel like this is something at my age, I'm also struggling with. And I know there's other guys, so I started this thing called just a conversation series where I bring 5 or 6 guys together, and the night before I throw a random topic. Like I'll be like, what does vulnerability mean? Or as being a male single entrepreneur, how do you deal with all the negativity and hardships and everything when you're told to be man enough to deal with it and not show that emotion? And that was actually one of the best sessions that we ever had, was literally talking about dealing with the emotions of the negativity and the the rejection and the hardships of being an entrepreneur, and yet you're supposed to be strong and all this stuff. And like at first, it's every session I start, like no one wants to start. No one wants to go first.
Makes
or
sense.
Third person speaks. Everyone is trying to get their word in because everyone is trying to say something and then contribute, and then we hear each other's thoughts, and it completely changes or gives us a new way of seeing things, and it's just a game changer.
Well, what I noticed with men, which is fantastic, because I do a lot of men's work, is that of course they have this like bottled up, sitting there. What the hell is this? I'm not going to open up or reveal anything.
Right.
And it's funny because it's such a simple thing. If you when one of the leaders typically gets vulnerable and cracks open and tells them out loud his deepest shit, fears, pain, right? They're just like they're just in awe that somebody could be like this open, and so what happens to them is that when they see the way vulnerability looks like, and when they see vulnerability, they feel that person must be really not only confident and powerful to be this vulnerable, but as recipient of this feel that they're trusted to this information and these words that are coming out of this person that are so delicate and vulnerable, and you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And in that, there's a huge amount of honor to even hear somebody's pain. And the next thing you know is they want to do it. Like they want to be brave like that guy, and they want to crack open and share their stuff because like they can honor the bravery that it would take.
Yeah.
So then it triggers their manhood in a way with man to like join the. I can't believe you did that. Let me do it. And then an avalanche just shows up. Am I right, Jonathan? They just line up one after the other, and then they don't want to be the last one. There's not one of them who wants to be the one who's not going to do it.
Yeah.
They have to be brave and open. Like it's just fantastic. But the benefits for them is just,
That's inspiring.
So within all this, where this podcast is called How the Culture Gets It Wrong, what do you see that, about all this stuff that we're really killing, the flow, killing the juice, killing the, the possibilities?
Well, I think one of the things I'm seeing from both men and women is I've seen men saying what women are doing wrong. I've seen women say what men are doing wrong. And very rarely do I see the questions being asked. Like there's not like people aren't approaching with curiosity. They're approaching with like, this is why men do this. And this is men, like, I think when you just mentioned like, women will say, men are shallow or something like that. And rather than coming in from a point of curiosity and say, going to a guy, like if a guy says something like degrading to women, for example, instead of coming on like, you're so chauvinistic or that how insulting you are or anything like that, rather than like, hey, why do you think that way? Like, why do you think you can talk about a woman in that way? And then literally like it puts the guy in a spot. And then if a guy says something like disrespectful to a woman and then has to go and explain himself, most guys will like, oh shit, I never realized that. I just said it in passing. Or even the statement of saying, guy's shallow. Like if someone went back and was like, why is he shallow? And then the woman starts talking about it, it's like, so you're that one little instant, now he, in overall concept, is shallow.
Yeah. Wow, yeah.
I think a lot of people especially for guy, coming from a man, like speaking for men, when I hear someone tell me, it's just like, you're just being petty. Part of my ego gets involved with like, you're just saying all of me is going to be petty because I made one little statement rather than asking, hey, in that one situation, why'd you respond that way? Or something like that. So coming from a place of curiosity, I don't see it coming off as much. I see a lot more people telling people how it is, or
labeling and instant decisions and no curiosity. Wow.
No, it's
great way to put it.
It is really factual. I mean, we I was explaining this to a client. Was that yesterday? Like we assume that people should be acting and responding like we do. Period. We expect people to act like us and be respectful like us, or like we think that people should do it our way. So put men and women in a bag. You know what I mean? Like that's not going to work. So and we know that the culture this is what I see all the time, that the culture has it wrong, is to trying to feminize men to make them act like women, thinking it's going to be better, and to masculinize women to think that the more masculine they are, they'll be empowered and it's going to be better. We know that's a disaster in the making. I mean, that's this entire purpose of my life for the past few years. Like this is a freaking disaster. right? Not that empowering women is a bad thing. That's not, and not to bring awareness and sensitivities to men is a bad thing. But when we decide that if you're a man and act anything but like a woman, you're defective. No. And then the idea that women, unless they're powerful, strong, have careers or CEOs, are not women enough, to be a mother is not good enough anymore. No. Do you know what I mean? Like there's adapting to what works better, and there's going too far.
Does that specifically come up when the boys start talking like, oh, this is what the girls in high school are saying, so I just clam up, or this is what's going on with women just saying we're stupid, or like does that topic come up and that they just retreat?
Yeah, I think part of it is, I mean, for high school boys, I think the hard thing for them is that they don't have enough life experience to know how to handle those situations. Yeah. And so it's the easiest. Like I remember in high school up until like maybe when I was 25, I don't know who taught me this saying, but I realized I used to think, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything. And so I always just kept my mouth shut. Like I wouldn't, like if I disagreed with someone, I would just keep my mouth shut. I wouldn't say anything. What I realized until years later was like, I'm not making the situation worse because if I said anything, it would be negative. But I also realized because I wasn't saying anything, I wasn't helping the situation.
Right.
In a sense, I was actually continuing to hurt the situation because I wasn't actually creating any kind of outlet to change that. I was letting it just continue in its path. And I think a lot of the kids are the same way. They don't know what's the proper thing to say. And now it's just like with social media and with everyone has phones and there's cameras everywhere, like you can't mess up because if someone has that one audio clip or that one video, it can come out 10 years later. And that's what we're seeing with a lot of these.
I never thought of that. Yeah. Yeah.
So they're like, I mean, I've seen that even with my conversations, like the conversations that I don't record, amazing conversation. Even though when I record, I don't actually post anything. Like I never post any of the conversation. It's really for me to learn how to properly narrate a conversation. But I can totally see when guys are holding back because they know something's being recorded and they never know if that's going to come back and haunt them years later.
It's sad.
It's terrible.
Yeah. Wow.
Woo!
But at the same time, the highlight to that is people should go out and have these conversations. Yeah. Like that's the thing is like the idea that you all are doing podcasts, or even I, like if I turn my thing into a podcast, people ask me, like, oh, how can I be a part? How can I support? I'm like, go and get a group of 4 or 5 people and talk about the hard stuff. Go for, like if you're having like, I remember the first session I did was on vulnerability, and I brought such a eclectic group of guys for that one that like 3 of them had no idea what vulnerability is. And it's funny because a lot of guys will say it's like, oh, I don't know what vulnerability is. They do know, but they're scared of admitting it because then that means that they might have to then be vulnerable. Right. And the idea is that most guys are scared to be vulnerable, but the moment they find a safe space to become vulnerable, man, do they open up. And guys do share it. And I've been in sessions where guys have left and been like, yo, dude, I went home and like rethought like half my life and how I've lived it because I didn't know that I was doing it this way. Right. I didn't know that I was shying away about this topic.
From conversation, not like years of therapy.
Well, Well, like I said, as we were talking about earlier, when you get them to open up, I mean, like they're just like they're not even they're amazed at what's even in their heads that they haven't hashed out. Do you know what I mean? Because they're so busy clamping down, and then the idea of like be able to say these things out loud because they feel safe with a man is just magical. Because that's when they get free of that stuff, and the judgments that they have about themselves, about that stuff. Wow. That's really what's liberating. Yeah. And get some support.
Are these conversations in person, Jonathan?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And
okay.
It's always like the idea of seeing each other's reaction when we're talking and how we're opening up. And it's like once one guy lets his guard down, the next guy lets his guard down, and by the end of it, all 6 guys are sharing. And there's been times where like people will drop some real deep stuff where I'm like, oh man, like we're almost getting a little to the point where we're like, I don't know if we should go this far because I'm not trained to have like talk about these things. But it's like the idea of conversation is the healing part because so many of us hold it in our head, and just the practice of vocalizing our thoughts, half the time we're sitting there and we're like, wow, that sounds completely ridiculous. I cannot believe I've been thinking that this whole time. But because we didn't vocalize it, we didn't actually hear how this thought pattern that we've had is not serving us.
Right. Which I was saying, that's what I was saying earlier. When you put it on the table, all of a sudden you get sorted out. In your head, sometimes it's overly calibrated and just jumble and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So tell us about when you do the program with the boys in high school, and I know you guys are on pause right now, but it doesn't matter. You know, what you've done and what you're up to and what's coming back up is fantastic. But like, I love when I found out like how you graduate them. It gives me goosebumps. Can you tell us how did they graduate after learning to be gentlemen?
For a lot of the kids, like they don't have suits, they don't have blazers, like they don't come. Well, the kids we were working with in Pasadena, they don't come. They come from like very low income housing, if that. And so we made it a reward to give them. Like we went the first couple semesters, we would do a field trip where we gave them blazers to wear all day, and they would see the reaction they would get of just showing up in a
blazer.
So
differently.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we decided that like we had a couple semesters where we got suits for the kids at the end of the semester, and like seeing them, because I used to always say they all got black suits, and I used to tell them it's like 80-20 principles. Like now your suit is 80% of your outfit, but your accessories make you 20%, and that's what tells your character and your style and who you are. And that little outlet, that canvas of a black suit, and then letting them play with all the little accessories gave them a new breath of life. Like they gave them an opportunity to show themselves and still be respectful. And like some of these kids, we gave it to them in the morning. They wore all day long. Like we finished at like 1. They wore it till 10 p.m. They went all town because they wanted to be seen, and like they could notice how they were being respectful and people
Straight
were talking.
That's so cool.
Well, no, I remember seeing the pictures. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
You see these kids, like, a lot of them, you know, there's high schools, they look like hip-hop kids, you know what I mean, with the tennis shoes and the jacket and the hoodies and stuff. And all of a sudden, they're standing in suits, and, like, the backs are straight, and there's a different look on their face, and they're like, yeah, that's right. That's right. Like, there's all, they command respect because there's a pride in just how they got to be there, the process, and actually, one of the boys, one of the men, they're just joining the gentleman's club. Like, there's just, like, you want to be like us, don't you? Like, it's just
wow,
fantastic.
Yeah.
I was going to curse just now, but I did. It's just fantastic. So, you know, awesome stuff, Jonathan. So since, how do people, like, because they're going to, you know, audience is going to try to find you, follow you. So how do people find you, help you? What do you need? You know, and how do they find you?
I mean, if they want to find me, email is probably one of the easiest ways, and it's Jonathan at gafoundation.org. So it's an easy way to reach out to me. But honestly, like the biggest way to help this movement is to talk to other people about this topic. Like, if more men talk to other men about, hey, what does it mean to be a gentleman to you? Just that idea is going to spark conversation. If men and women sat down and was like, hey, what does it mean to be a lady and a gentleman in today's world? Like those simple topics, like the conversation is really what's going to impact our world. Because if someone has a mentality of like, no, men should be on top and women are not equal to men, let them defend that in front of a bunch of people and watch them get kind of burned by it. Not necessarily burned by, like, when someone vocalizes that and really believes that, to go and put it out there, other people are going to make some points where you can maybe get that person to think differently.
Right. Their perspective.
Conversation has something to change.
Right. Well, perspective may change just by seeing the reaction, and put other people's perspective into it, and, you know, make him think it'll be on that, and that's the point, right?
Mm-hmm. I have a question. Like, let's say if someone says, "Yo, that's a great idea," but like the actual art of, I'm going to go contact, 4 of my buddies and say, "Oh, we're going to sit around and talk about our feelings." Like, can they reach out to you and say, "How can I initiate this? What are some buzzwords, or maybe curriculum, or even just topics?" Is that something people can reach out to you for guidance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I can happily provide guidance, and then I can happily point in different directions based on what they're trying to do and what kind of conversations they're trying to have.
See, I think that's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Awesome. So on our side, Tess, how do people find us?
Sure. So the Facebook page is Project Equinox with Andre Parody. Content on there all the time. And the website is projectequinox.net. We have little audio clips. We have YouTube videos and blog material as well. Please subscribe. Content weekly as well. Yep. And this is also where you can find Andre and contact him via his email or his phone for coaching and live events as well. Special events or whatever, speaking events. So it's still my favorite thing to do. Jonathan, when you guys get back up, I'd love to talk to the boys. That's what I do. Anything else anybody wants to throw in? Jonathan, anything you want to throw at us? A bonus, something last minute, whatever. Something just popped in your head.
I'm glad. I mean, we're having this conversation. This is exactly what it's about, and I'm happy that even this outlet is going to get to so many other people's ears and hopefully spark conversation for them.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Ladies, anything that's burning?
I just wanted to thank you again.
Really?
I really appreciate hearing this. I mean, I mentioned a little bit earlier, even today for me, at my age right now as a college student, I think those things still apply and those fears and those worries. And I think having a conversation like this is really beneficial, really important.
I can drop. Sorry, not to interrupt. I can drop one gem actually that just as we're saying
Yeah.
that has helped me. It was like 3 weeks ago, probably like a month ago that I heard this. But true self-love is the moment that you respect your personal opinion of yourself over everyone else. Like when you only care about your personal opinion of yourself and you don't care what anyone else thinks, that's the moment that you've hit self-love.
Say it
and
again.
I think that's something.
Love that.
Say it again.
Like allowing yourself to really appreciate all aspects of you, life completely changes when you can let yourself be you.
Boom. Drop the
Great.
mic.
Yeah.
Drop the
That's
mic.
amazing.
Anything you want to say, my darling?
When I'm in the presence of a gentleman, as you are describing, I feel feminine. I feel like I am a woman. I feel like that's my man, and it's ultimately the most golden feeling. And so just hearing you doing this with young men I just feel warm and I feel love. And I think of all the other women out there that get to experience that because of these gentlemen that you have touched.
Wow.
That just is amazing to me. So I want to thank you, truly.
Thank you.
Well, I can't top that. Thanks. I want to say
you
is,
brought me on here for something, so.
No, beautiful. Thank you. I'm just going to say that, I just what you're up to is amazing. I often it's there's talking about it and there's doing it. Do you know what I mean? And you're a busy guy. It's not like you have nothing to do, right? Like so, just like I want to go. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy.
We're all waving our hands right now.
I'm not worthy. But seriously, that's.
I'm grateful that I could be a part of this. Like I'm super glad that I can.
Thank you, and I'm grateful for who you are and what you bring. And don't stop. And like I said, I'm always here if you need support and help because I'm up to the same thing ultimately. And thank you so much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you very, very soon. Thank you for the audience for joining us. Next week, another episode of How the Culture Gets It Wrong with another special guest star. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Bye.